Good morning, everybody. I'll do an update here momentarily. How's everybody doing this morning on Sunday? Hello, everybody. Do an update here in a few minutes. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Sunday morning. How's everybody doing? Yep, out here on the beach. Today's kind of a chill day, right? A little bit. Yes. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Jimmy, yes. It's a little bit chill mode here today. Yeah. We'll start the update here in just a second. Hope everybody's calm before the storm. I'm calm. The weather's calm. It's quite beautiful down here in Florida. Actually, I'm gonna put my glasses on. Let's see if I can see any better. It's a little bit overcast here this morning, which is good. Yeah, I can see the date a little bit better. Yeah. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Space Coast, yes. And thinking about coming up this way, right? Okay, so here we go. Yeah, it's a nice, pretty day here in Florida. So I'm gonna be real slow, calm, very direct. I'm gonna give you my 12 noon Sunday thoughts. So, the models over the last 3 or 4 days of we got two set of Campo models. We got the GFS set of models that want to go the western track, western tip of Cuban, on into the Florida Panhandle, day 5. And then you've got the Euro, I call it King Euro, that's been extremely persistent. Started off first down at Fort Myers, and then gradually moved up the coast to locking in pretty hard in the Tampa area, Tampa, St. Pete, Sarasota area, locking in really hard for about the last 4 updates. So in the last 12, 24 hours, a couple things happened. So NOAA has had the Gulf Stream up doing samples across the Gulf and the southeast region, air samples, figuring out a couple of things. A, the high pressure ridge, also the trough up to the north and the westerly shear. And they injected that into the models last night. Normally when that happens, the models you'll see the models either come closer together and kind of have a consensus of both the European and then ensembles. They come better in line, right? Well, after they injected the models last night with the new data from the NOAA flights yesterday and the southeast half of the United States with the upper air data every 6-12 hours that NOAA officers are doing across the southeast half last couple of days to get a handle on this pattern. Nothing really happened on the models. So the GFS kind of stayed where it was at, 0Z. It came a little bit more to the right, a little bit, not much. And then the 6Z run, which is a midnight run, 1 a.m., it came in like another 25 miles to the east, right? So there's another things going on. So I looked at the Euro extremely intently. It was why is it so committed to this eastern bias? And Tampa, for example, and the UK Met is saying Tampa. The ICON model is saying Sarasota, Tampa. My Barron in-house model is breaking right now. It says near and south of Tampa. So I've got 5 tropical models that says that it's going to come to near Tampa, right, as a major hurricane. The other thing, and this is a part that gets really hard to understand unless you're in the weather business and you really, it's very complex and it's very hard to understand this. I'm gonna try to make it super simple, but it's very complicated to explain this process. As we get the rapid intensification models have basically a Cat 3, Cat 4 coming off the Cuban coast as we get into Monday night, into Tuesday morning. Most of the models agree on that point for the next 48, 72 hours. They're in pretty good agreement that's going to happen. What's interesting is as the hurricane gets up to close to Tampa, north here. From Tampa westward, the environment north of Tampa gets very extremely hostile for the hurricane to maintain its intensity. And there's a lot of things. There's some dry air. There's extreme wind shear. The wind shear goes to like 40 knots as you get in the northern Gulf up near the Florida Panhandle. I'm talking like Pensacola, Dustin area, up in the northeast, Panama City, and that area. The environment's extremely hostile. So even though we may have a 4 in the central southeast Gulf of Mexico as we get into Monday, Tuesday, and going into Wednesday, if it does not break right and come into Tampa and stays off coast 50 miles, 100 miles, and the current track right now is about 100 miles west of Tampa on the 11 advisory from the NHC, and they did say caveat in there is like, hey, there's still a lot of things that can be resolved, and there could be some big errors in the track forecast after 3 days, which it could come way back to the right, or it could stay where it's at right now and just go out in the Panhandle. Once it gets past about Tampa, you're going to see the weakening if it stays west of Tampa. Once it stays west of Tampa and it goes up the Panhandle, the environment around the upper levels is extremely hostile for this hurricane to maintain both intensity and even maintain itself. So you're going to see it, if it stays out west, stays off the coast 50 or 100 miles, you're going to see the hurricane go from a 4, a 3, to a 2, to a 1, to almost a tropical storm, to tropical depression in a very short amount of hours as we get into later Wednesday, Thursday, right? So you could literally be looking at a Cat 4, south of the Panhandle, let's call it Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening, you think, oh no, I'm in trouble. And then over the next 24 hours, the storm literally just gets eaten alive by the shear. The dry air cuts into it, and every model shows that happening. I mean, it's pretty unanimous that the hurricane dramatically weakens if it takes the western track the GFS is suggesting now, and it comes up to the Panhandle. It might be a Cat 1 at landfall, maybe. If the GFS is wrong, and the H. Wharf and the Hermon are wrong on its trajectory, and the King Euro as I'm going to call it, because it's been very locked in on this Tampa Bay area and St. Pete area and Sarasota area now for about 3.5 days. It really haven't wavered. And matter of fact, I'll even go this far. The 60 Euro is not only doubling down, it's mega doubling down on a Tampa, Sarasota landfall, just south of Tampa Bay here. If it comes ashore as a Cat 3, it's a total different scenario. From Tampa southward, the impacts locally will be enormous. You can imagine what a Cat 3 will do in a very highly populated, very highly dense area of the coastline here, right? Millions of new people have moved to Florida, and these coastlines are packed with not only the local residents, but a lot of new people have moved into the state of Florida. So the whole dynamics of both of the evacuation, where are you gonna ride this storm out? Are you gonna move inland? Because if it comes to Tampa southward, and again, I'm putting a caveat in here, if it doesn't go up into the Panhandle and weaken as it gets under shear, and it comes to Tampa, Sarasota, north of Fort Myers, Venice Beach, in this general area, you've got a whole different set of circumstances that are going to unfold for the hurricane as well as aftermath. And the scenario of that is, if you get a Cat 3 making landfall in this Tampa area, the storm surge is going to be tremendous, could be very tremendous, and as well as power outages for weeks. If you get a full-on landfall, where it comes it doesn't go up the coast, but just comes directly 90 degrees, that some of the overnight models are now suggesting we have a full onfall somewhere near and south of Tampa Bay, then the amount of damage here will be major to catastrophic. So it's a really fine line here, depending on where the hurricane tracks. If it stays off the coast 100 miles, we're still going to have tropical storm force winds across the whole state. We're probably going to have hurricane force winds. Even if it stays 100 miles west of here, we're still going to have hurricane force winds while on the coast here. That's Pinellas County, from all the way from down south, just north of Fort Walton, down south at Fort Myers, all the way north Sarasota, up to west of Tampa, on up to Cedar Point. This whole area is still probably going to have hurricane force winds as we get into Wednesday and Wednesday evening, depending on no matter where it tracks, right? But it could be more intense, serious damage if the closer the eye comes ashore. And the Euro has been very Matter of fact, the last 4 days, right? It's been very, you look for consistency in a model. You look for it to say, I'm going to make landfall here, I'm going to make landfall here. And they all have different dynamics, what feeds them. So they're going to do the Gulf Stream again today, and they're flying over the Gulf, they're flying, take the upper air sounding of the upper atmosphere, and see when they inject it tonight again, late this afternoon, into the models, to see if we can get the models to either change their mind or come better in alignment. The Euro's to the right, GFS is to the west side of the envelope. Right now the NHC forecast is kind of in the middle, and we'll see where it goes. But right now, at about noon here Sunday, about 11:40, right, East Coast time, about noon Sunday, my honest, unfiltered, honest opinion, this hour, I think there's about a 60% chance we're gonna have a landfalling hurricane on the West Coast sometime on Wednesday. Wednesday night, could be Wednesday morning. I didn't say 100%, I said 60%, right? That's where I'm at today. Noon Sunday, I think we've got a 60% chance of a landfalling hurricane on the West Coast on Wednesday. And I've looked at 5 tropical models that bring it to the West Coast. So I know the official track is to my west, that's fine. And they did say, days 3 through 5, there could be great errors in the track, right? So it's in a normal hurricane situation. I would look at, I'd get my gas, I'd get cash, I would get your water, get your stuff you're normally gonna have for a hurricane. But keep in mind, if it comes in as a Cat 3 anywhere in the West Coast here, whether it's down north of Fort Myers, Sarasota, Venice Beach, up here in Tampa Bay, or north of here on up to Cedar Key, be prepared for power to be out for possibly a couple weeks. And in the core, if the actual core moves inland, the actual eye comes over land here, it comes inland, you're prepared for major damage, right? And that's what we're looking at. So it's lesser damage, less impacts if it goes in the Panhandle. Still going to have storm surge. It's going to be a big problem across the West Coast and the upper Florida Panhandle. Storm surge is going to be a huge problem, matter of fact. The models also, the Euro, the other problem we got to talk about, again, the Euro and the GFS both do this, but the Euro does it because of its landfall. As it makes landfall, it slows its pace to the northeast. The Euro overnight has 20 inches of rain from Tampa over to Lakeland in central Florida. We're going to have a tremendous amount of in-state freshwater flooding, right? Well, ahead of the hurricane and to the right, and left the track where the eye comes ashore. So inland flooding is going to be a big problem as well. So basically, bottom line is, I'm sitting here on the West Coast. I don't jump and move. And storm chasing, I got a different focus. I'm more focused on where the eye is going to come ashore. I don't chase, just like when I chase tornadoes, I don't chase where the SPC outlook is for the day, or where the hurricane line is. I don't jump, because if you look at what the GFS has done, the GFS, and I've been kind of funny about this, but you'll get the point. You know, the GFS has taken a tour of the whole Gulf of Mexico the last 4 days. You know, it's over here, it's back at New Orleans, it's back at, it's Dustin, it's at Panama City, oh, I'm back west again, no, I'm back east again. If you add up all the lines, how it moves east and west for the last 4 days, it's probably moved 400, 500 miles, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, right? Let's talk about the models have been real consistent, right? Day after day after day. And it's telling you, it's coming to the West Coast. There's a high probability the West Coast is going to get impacted, whether it goes up in the Big Bend area that they officially got forecast now, or it gets closer to the West Coast and we have a higher impact. So I just wanted to be very transparent with you. It's a beautiful day here in Florida. You see there's thousands, I'm sure, across the whole state. There's millions of people online. It's a cloudy day, but it's a beautiful day here on the beach. But we'll see what happens, right? Again, I'm telling you, noon Sunday, instead of saying 50-50, it's always 50-50 where it's going to go, right? Right now, I'm going 60%. And another key thing that happened, it came out about 9 o'clock this morning, 9:30. The European ensembles that had the Dermatist model had it coming into Tampa, but the ensembles had spreads all the way from New Orleans to like just south of Tampa, right? Well, guess what happened overnight? And it came in this morning. All the ensemble models have come hard back to the right. right? So now I've got some of the southernmost extreme is it says Key West. And some of them are still up into the Big Bend area, right, of the Florida Panhandle. But what I'm saying is I would prepare for possibly a major landing falling hurricane. My gut today, from storm chasing and looking at all the data that's available, unfiltered, I hope the GFS is right, because I don't need a Cat 4 or Cat 3 coming into Tampa area, right? We don't want that to happen. We really don't. Because the amount of damage and the misery it's going to cause here is going to be, it'll be in the hundreds of billions of dollars of damage if that happens. We don't know if it's going to happen. It may not happen. But I'm saying there's growing weight evidence that that's going to be the scenario that's going to start unfolding. And at some point, you're going to, everybody, the meteorologists, and everybody's working really hard, from the TV meteorologists across the whole United States, but in Florida, they're fantastic tropical meteorologists here in Florida, as well as the National Hurricane Center, as well as NOAA personnel, the state and federal officials. I've talked to several people high-ranking in the state of Florida overnight and this morning. Everybody's working really, really hard to make sure they get it right and they get the right message out to everybody, okay? But I think in the next tonight and then overnight tomorrow during Monday, you're going to see the tempo of the message is going to ramp up significantly on the threat impacts, and also what you should expect as this thing gets closer to us. But it's very unnerving is the right word to use. You got a Cat 3, Cat 4 within 100 miles of the West Coast, and some of the models during the day Wednesday are literally, instead of doing north-northeast, they literally start doing this. They come hard right during the day Wednesday. That to me is a red flag. You got to pay attention, right? This is almost a little bit like a Charlie type scenario, a little bit like Charlie, where the GFS kept saying Tampa, 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 and then the morning of, it breaks hard right, super intensifies. Cat 4 goes in down south there as a major hurricane. In just 6 hours notice, it made that hard right turn and it came ashore, right? So anyway, that's it. I would think that's what we need to look at. Like I said, today, right now, this hour at noon Sunday, I'm 60% think we're gonna have a West Coast landing major hurricane. That's where I'm at today, right? I'll give another update at noon tomorrow, unless there's a major update either in the Euro models this morning or the GFS models tonight. If the GFS comes way right, if the Euro goes way left, I'll give you a new update, right? But right now, I think it's kind of status quo. I'm not moving. I'm going to have a chill day here on the beach, kind of just take it easy. It's quiet. It's a beautiful day, and we'll see what happens, right? So that's kind of my take. That's, people know I'm kind of unfiltered. I kind of just tell it like I said. But again, there's going to be, across the state, there's going to be a lot of impacts from heavy rains. There's going to be tropical storm force winds over a huge area of the state. Prepare for storm surge over a large part of the state on the West Coast here, up in the Panhandle, no matter where it tracks, right? So anyway, that's kind of the update this morning. I'll give you another update if things change, but right now, I'm hanging on the West Coast. We'll see where it goes, okay? That's it. I hope everybody has a wonderful Sunday and go out and enjoy your day. And if you're on the West Coast, kind of be getting your gas, getting your water, and think about if it decides to come to Tampa, do you have family and friends in up north or down south, but up north, do you have somewhere you can go stay for a week or 2 or 3 if the worst case scenario happens, right? You got to be thinking about those things. Prescriptions, get cash, because if there's no power, for the people who's new in Florida, if the power goes out over 100 by 100 miles or 200 miles by 200 miles and there's no power, you can't go down to the ATM and get cash. And if a store is open, they're not going to run credit cards, so you got to have cash on you, right? To pay milk, bread, water, food after the hurricane. And by the way, if you've never been in a hurricane where the power's out, you get 90, 95 degree days and real high humidity, there's no power and there's no air conditioning, it's very uncomfortable, both indoors and outdoors, right? It's miserable. So you need to think about your family. If we get in that situation, we're kind of go take them for 3 or 4 or 5 days upstate. You don't wait till Wednesday morning as the hurricane's approaching, right? And mold, right? Mold's a huge issue. Speaking of mold, I encountered that last night in a local hotel that was quote unquote remodeled. That was a joke. Anyway, from my building background, I can tell you about that. So yeah, you need to think about those things. So anyway, like I say, here in Tampa, Orlando, all over the state of Florida, there's terrific meteorologists, both men and women, that are working really, really hard around the clock to bring you the best coverage, the best information, the best science. NOAA's working really hard, NHC's working really hard, Hurricane Hunter's up there flying, Gulfstream's flying. Everybody's working really, really hard to give you the best information possible as quick as possible so you can make the right decision, right? It's all about giving the information so you can make the right decisions for your family and you personally. And that's all we're doing, right? So that's it. Yes, I will plan on streaming live, depending on the track. But yes, I plan on streaming live continuously as it's unfolding, possibly as late as Tuesday evening, overnight Tuesday night, and during the day Wednesday. We plan on being continuously live streaming from wherever it's coming ashore. We plan on that. So you can follow us on YouTube, you can follow us on Twitter. Like I said, my next plane update is probably noon tomorrow. Let's let the hurricane intensify. Let's let the tropical storm go to hurricane. Let's let it get intensified. Let's get a new data set tonight. And let's see where the models shake out overnight. Tomorrow, we'll see if they come in better agreement, right? So that's it. Everybody have a wonderful Sunday. As you can see, I'm here on the beach. I'm chilling out today. There's gonna be a lot of hard work in the coming days. I'm just taking it easy. It's a pretty day. Everybody have a wonderful Sunday. Bye-bye.